When it comes to living life, there's a lot to overthink, but I don't ever have to overthink my water. I've been drinking Smart Water for years and truly love its pure, crisp taste. It's vapor distilled through a process inspired by clouds. I love chic branding, and Smart Water's sleek bottle shape makes it the perfect accessory for any day bag, workout tote, or backpack. Smart Water is the smart way to hydrate no matter what you have going on in your life. Life is full of choices. Smart Water is a simple one. Visit drinksmartwater.com to learn more.
Hear that? Yeah, that's the sound of you relaxing, because now you're managing diabetes with the Freestyle Libre 3 system. You get to know your glucose levels and where it's headed. Manage your diabetes with more confidence with the Freestyle Libre 3 system. Ready to learn more about the #1 prescribed CGM in the U.S.? Visit freestylelibre.us to learn more. Based on retail sales data for patients' last filled prescription by manufacturer. Refer to the FLAIR NL4 study published in BMJ Open Diabetes Research and Care 2019. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
Does money stress you out? Let Facet flip your financial chaos into clarity.
We feel way more confident and secure in our finances. And with that comes a sense of freedom.
Financial planning from Facet is here to help you improve your life today, tomorrow, and every day after that.
Facet was really the place where we saw all of the tools and the people coming together.
Visit Facet.com, FACET.com to learn more. This ad is sponsored by Facet. Facet Wealth is an SEC registered investment advisor. This is not an offer to buy or sell securities, nor is it investment, legal, or tax advice. These testimonials are from current Facet members who are not compensated. All opinions are their own and not a guarantee of a similar outcome.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Zoe, and you're listening to Climbing in Heels. This show is all about celebrating the most extraordinary superwomen who will be sharing their incredible journeys to the top, all while staying glamorous. We're back, and I am so excited. Today, we are doing a full episode of Ask Rachel Questions because you guys have asked so many questions, which is so much fun. Instead of interviewing a guest about their climb to the top, I'm going to answer your questions about anything and everything. Nothing is off the table. And here to help is my producer, which really that title does her no justice. But Mary Elizabeth is here to ask me all the questions. So let's catch up on my life lately. Thank you for taking an interest, and then jump right into it and get started.
Hi, Rachel.
Oh, hey.
Welcome back to Podcast Land.
I'm happy to be back. I've missed my listeners.
I know.
A lot. Our very devoted listeners. They
I
keep
know.
stopping me on the street out in the wild and telling me that they love my podcast, which, I mean, what could make me happier than that?
That's such a nice compliment to get. I think it's so exciting. And we have so many exciting things happening coming up that I'm sure they're going to be even more excited by the podcast.
Well, this is what I'm getting. I'm getting a lot of women who maybe didn't know about the podcast that says, oh my God, my girlfriend told me I had to listen to this episode with whomever it was.
Right.
And then the follow to that keeps being, oh my God. And then I went down a black hole and I listened to every single one. And oh my God, I'm so obsessed. I loved this. I love that. I didn't know that about her. Or like, I'm so surprised that so-and-so didn't even graduate high school. Look at her success. It makes me feel so much better about myself. Like,
yes.
So to me, that's obviously the same way it was for me with styling or writing my books or anything I've ever done, the TV show. That feedback in the wild to me is actually the most rewarding because it's not a friend of yours. It's not someone who's like, oh, I have to listen to Rachel's podcast because she's my girl. Like,
exactly.
It's sort of someone who opted to do it and
who
really got something
genuinely
out of it.
is connecting with the content. Yeah, that's so exciting. I love that.
Very cool.
So you are full back in mom, school, work mode.
Insanity.
September is somehow always the most
chaotic
month.
Rip my hair out of my head. Don't sleep at all. Can't figure out if I'm coming or going.
Yeah.
I think I'm very upside down in September. I don't get right side up, I think, until October.
Yeah.
And I think it's partly because the first, 20 years of my life, kind of pre-children, September was fashion month.
Sure.
And so I have this gravitational pull of my heartstrings and my soul that feels an overwhelming desire to be at certain shows with certain friends that are designers, to be in Milan, to be in Paris, to stop into London for a day or two, and and of course New York. And I think once my kids became a certain age and school became very real, you can't not show up for the first 2 weeks of school. And
they frown upon that.
They frown upon that. And I think we started off taking the boys everywhere, and so I was able to really do fashion month with my babies, and it was amazing because at the end of the like chaotic fashion mayhem of the day, I would like jump into bed with the boys and like cuddle up and just whatever. And I think for me, I do feel this slight discomfort in living that life of the CEO and the mom and full on so hard with both in September as you kind of like get into life, all while feeling I should be in Paris right now. Why aren't I in Milan right now? Why aren't I at that show? And I think without that, and I don't want to say it's FOMO because FOMO sounds so like trivial. It's a little bit deeper than that.
Sure.
It's a little bit like, it's like a real love. And I know that I'll go back to it. And I want to point out that my friend Tina Chin Craig did this post on her Instagram. We had her on the pod actually.
We did.
She's amazing. And she has a son and she's a single mom now because she's divorced. And she just is in Milan and in Paris. And she said, wow, after, a decade away, because I was raising my son who didn't want to be dragged to Milan and Paris and fashion shows and all that, I'm back and it's as if no time had passed. And I really like kind of fully saw her so much in what she was saying, because it's almost like you make that choice, right? And Sky said to me on the way to the bus this morning, he said, Mommy, he said, if you need to be in Paris, you should go. And I said, honey, I don't need to be. I need to be here with you, and do my job. My actual other job. And so it's hard. I mean, I think it goes back to the thing of like, you really can't physically be in 10 places at once.
No. Yeah.
So mentally I'm a little there, and then that doesn't help anything.
Right.
Because you have to just be here.
Right.
And I really need to be here right now. That's a thing for work and for my kids. I can't be like jetting off to run around and dance on tables in Paris at fashion parties,
Right. You can do that again.
I can.
I feel like, Paris isn't going anywhere. Milan's not going anywhere. But these like first week adjustment periods for Skylar and Caius in school
More important.
Are very finite.
Very.
You only get a few first day of schools with your kids.
Where they want you there.
They actually want you around.
It's true.
And Skylar's having a big sort of adjustment year, being that he's starting a new school.
Yep.
So that's a whole other layer of working mom stuff. I'm sure.
I never really realized. I don't think I have many friends. I have friends with 4 kids at 4 schools, 3 kids at 3 schools, 2 kids, and then I have friends with 3 or 4 kids at the same school. And like, I got to tell you, the different school thing adds a whole nother layer to the insanity.
Yeah.
Parents, I don't want you to take for granted the fact when you drop your kids off and pick them up in the same destination
building
at the same time. That is a really beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Especially in Los Angeles where you drive far
to
go everywhere.
And it just takes forever.
Yes.
It's, insane.
But it's a lot. And I do think, I would argue to say that the mom needs now are higher stake. It's like they need you less, but they need you more. They don't want you involved, but they want you involved in everything. They want to be alone, but they never want to be alone.
Right.
It's like
what did Caroline Stansbury say? Didn't she say she's at that phase with her kids where they don't want to interact with me, but they physically want me in the vicinity? Yes. But they want nothing to do with me in terms of communicating or like hanging out. They don't want my opinions. Yes. They just physically want my body.
They want to know that
in
she's
the area.
Present. It's like, well, I think that goes back to sort of your mom and, sometimes your dad. For every kid, it's different. But typically, I think they lean on one more than the other for different things. At the end of the day, it's like we're their safe person. So that safe person ultimately really functions like a security blanket. And sometimes you want that blanket to do nothing, and sometimes you want to talk to the blanket. And sometimes you want to hold the blanket, sometimes you want to throw it down and don't let anyone know how attached you are to it. So it's like this, it's a thing. And I think as the parent, it's a difficult thing to navigate. But for me, so far, it's been incredibly easy because so far, and again, Sky is not 13 yet, but he's, you know, in 7th grade, and a lot of his friends are 13. But I'm seeing what's happening, and I'm seeing the difference in the 13 to the 12.
Yep.
And so, but right now, you know, he's still getting off that bus and hugging me. He's still saying I love you in front of his friends. He's still embracing me as his mother publicly.
Publicly, yeah. That's so funny. That's so funny. I mean, and you know what? He might never go through that sort of.
He might not.
Please drop me off a block away.
He
phase.
might not. I don't think that my nephew did, who's now 27.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure my nephew always was kind and loving to my sister, and still is. Hugs her every day, calls her twice a day. You know.
Yeah. Well, you just have great kids. I mean, you're just sort of very lucky in that sense.
You know, I say that, and I'm grateful, and I agree, and I'm so blessed. It's like you just hold on to every day. Like, is today the last day he's gonna hug me?
Right. Is this the last day he's gonna be kind to me?
Day by day. Yeah. Please stay this way.
Right. It's so funny how you sort of start to fear your tween or teen.
True. Well, it's like I think enough friends scare the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Of like, you know, Tina always jokes about it on her Instagram about her son. Like, this is how I drive my teenager. And he's literally like looking the other way with like a hood over his head with his thing in front of him. And she's just
so
like,
funny.
He loves me, you know.
Thinking about Tina, I think I was thinking about, I saw this clip, and I think it was Tina Fey, and I think she was on the Jimmy Fallon show. And she talks about having a teenager in the house is like you have your own crush. She's like, you go to your daughter's door and you knock on the door and you like sheepishly open the door and you're like, hey, so like a few of us are like having dinner tonight. Like if you want to like come down, you know, she's like, it feels like your teen is is sort of.
You're like terrified.
You're walking on eggshells. Yeah.
Totally.
So funny.
Christ.
So funny. Well, they're good kids.
happens?
They're going to be great. We sourced some questions for you on Instagram and had a huge response. There's a lot of people with and it's really fun too. They're pretty varied this go round, which is kind of exciting. So I figured we could just jump right into it and you can just answer away.
Let's do it.
Okay. Question 1 is, what was the skin tightening facial you had done on your IG story a few weeks ago?
At Nurse Jamie.
I think so. Yeah. Because you haven't seen Ivan in a while.
No.
But explain the difference.
Well,
explain.
okay. So I have 2 people that I see for my skin regularly. Someone named Ivan Pohl, who you may have heard of, is The Beauty Sandwich is his Instagram. He is a magician. He does not do anything like injectable or anything like that. It's really just topical, like sculpting and really doing different magical tricks to sort of like stimulate the collagen in your face. And I have to tell you, it is like game changing if you do it religiously. And I'm not going to lie, it is very expensive. So I do want to point that out. It is an expensive service. He is a mastermind. He's behind the faces of countless celebrities that you've seen. He has them on his Instagram, The Beauty Sandwich. But I also want to point out that he has done partnerships with people who do amazing things like the Lima laser and things like that, where you can do these things at home. Again, not cheap.
Right.
But again, a way to do these certain things at home. So he makes a tremendous difference in my face. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's lots of different like lasers, some with heat, some without heat, and you know, all these different things. Stamping.
There, with his technique, I think there's some radio frequency technology.
There's a lot of radio frequency.
That's a skin tightening.
Yep. There's a lot.
Effect.
There's a lot of things that he uses, and I honestly, it's such a science that I can't pretend to totally understand it. And, you know, I trust him to kind of do it. And I have to say my face looks literally like sculpted and tight when I leave there for a good like few weeks. Sometimes even like 10 days later, all of a sudden you feel it tightening and it's wild. So that is brilliant. Nurse Jamie here in LA, I'm sure you've heard of her. And if you haven't, I mean, her hands grace the faces of many who I will not name, but some of even the youngest, most beautiful faces, skin and otherwise. And she's, you know, a real artist, but She does both injectables and lasers and things like that.
Yep.
She does so many different lasers on me that I actually don't even know
Right.
half of what they are. I never do anything that has downtime.
Right.
Because I don't have any. So there are ones that are actually more effective.
Right.
That
The
do
deeper
have like yes,
what's it
but
called?
she doesn't do
Fraxel?
Fraxel. She does more like it's called it's an Alma I don't think it's the Morpheus laser, but there's a few of them that I can put up on our IG, some of the answers, and I can get details. But Nurse Jamie, if you reach out, you could probably find out what she did on me, but it's multiple lasers. She has some of the best equipment out there. And I have to tell you, it's game changing.
Yeah.
There are things that she does that, again, not injectables, but things that are topical that lift, tighten, tone. And if you're diligent about it, it's really game changing.
Yeah.
You know, I don't go as much as I should, but I wish I could go every other day.
Yeah.
Because you walk out with this like, oh my God, my face just is so tight and lifted. You know, so
it's one of those annoying things that like,
yes.
it's annoying, but it's true. Consistency is key.
It
just
is.
like with anything.
And expensive.
With
I
wellness,
do want to
with-
say it's
it-
expensive.
it is expensive.
It's not cheap to do these things, but I will say that there are so many at home now that you can do that do make a difference. You know, like Shawnee Darden makes a bunch of at home.
Lots of infrared masks and all of that.
And
I
they
see.
do make a difference. They really do.
I'm sure.
They
What's
really
your favorite skin tightening topical product that people could maybe invest in or look into?
I would definitely say Ivan's has this great serum that he came out with that is like really addictive. I love it.
Oh, cool.
Dr. Jason Diamond, also a brilliant surgeon and
Sculptor
here, came out after many years of working on it with something called Medicine, spelled METACINE.
Okay.
And it's literally like a plasma compound because he has a very famous plasma facial.
Right.
And it's this literally in a dropper, and then you seal it with like a serum. And honestly, you wake up with the tightest face. It's that great feeling of like piling stuff in your face and waking up with like, oh my God, my skin's dewy, tight, and shiny.
Right.
And then also one of my favorite products, a very natural, clean, organic product, is Miranda Kerr's Cora Organics products.
Yeah.
So she came out, a lot of skin is very reactive to different retinols. And she has like she does an organic serum, plant-based serum and cream that is a retinol alternative and extremely effective. And also I love her overnight mask. So and I fell in love with that product like when it first came out, and I constantly go back to it. It's an overnight cream that you put on and you sleep with, and it's like hydrating. And
sounds
it's
nice.
great. And then of course, honestly, Barbara Sturm, everything. Like hyaluronic acid, her lifting serum, her niacin serum. I mean, I could just pile on Barbara Sturm products all day and night. Her overnight tightening cream, neck cream. So I'm a real product junkie, but I have to say I'm old enough to know now, and I've seen enough now where I know what actually works and what is just like gimmicky marketing, like pile some hydration on your face, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things that hydrate versus things that actually do what they're claiming to do.
Sure.
You know?
Love that. Okay. Next question is, what are your favorite shopping websites for vintage and otherwise?
First Dibs for everything. It used to be just for home that I loved First Dibs.
Yep.
Because it's a very edited, it's like a curated aggregate for like the best things around the world. So I love that. For anything vintage, home, clothing, jewelry, First Dibs is heaven. I, of course, love Net-a-Porter.
Yep.
I love Mode Operandi. I love My Teresa.
Yep.
Matches. I mean, I love all the, you know, I'm not a huge like department store online person. I'm not sure why, because sometimes that's actually like the best place to go for a lot of things.
Sure.
But I think as I don't find myself shopping that much anymore, if that makes sense, because I got to a point where I felt I had so much that I should really just pull out things I've never looked at, especially from my vintage collection. But
Sure.
Valentino, I definitely have lots of places I love to shop.
Lots
but
of favorites.
also I love Shrimpton Couture. I love Racy in Paris Vintage website. It's incredible. I love Tab Vintage, another incredible vintage resource here. I love What Goes Around Comes Around. The founders are my friends from when they started.
Crazy.
And they're doing better than ever. And they have an incredible luxury selection of vintage. And who else? That's probably like a good
I mean, yeah,
start,
that's a lot. That's a lot.
You know?
I love it. Love it. What about for the boys? What do you like to
You know,
shop
the boys
online
are-
for them?
The boys are getting harder because Sky's at an age where he's like in that weird in between almost. He's like about to age out of the kid sizes, but he's too little for a small adult size.
Yeah.
Because a lot of his friends are wearing like adult smalls or extra smalls. He can't do that yet.
Yeah.
He can with like a sweatshirt. But honestly, for like everyday clothes for them that they're just going to like run around and live in and, whatever, not too fancy. I love Zara for them.
Yeah.
Honestly, I love Ralph Lauren. They've worn everything Ralph Lauren, from t-shirts to dress clothes to,
And from like infancy.
literally from newborn age. I'm pretty sure I took them both home in Ralph Baby. And it's, I would say it's very fairly reasonable, a lot of it. Like,
Yeah.
it's really not any more expensive than any of the other. I think it's very appropriately priced for what it is. Obviously, some things are more expensive, but certainly like hoodie, sweatshirts, and shorts and things like that. What else? Obviously, not obviously, but I think I also like Janie and Jack for everyday
Yeah.
clothes. I really love for dress clothes. They've really just always worn Bon Point.
Yep.
And they still wear it. And it really just works the best, honestly, for dress clothes. They just fit beautifully. They're made beautifully. I have Bon Point things that Sky got when he was 5 that Caius can wear now.
That's crazy.
Like, there's certain things that were like a size 5, 7. Caius literally wore a Bon Point blazer for the holidays that
so
is
funny.
a size 7 because he's a peanut.
He's a peanut.
But was Skylar's. I have pictures of Sky in it at like 5 that Caius is wearing at 9.
So funny.
But you
so
you
funny.
don't get rid of that stuff.
No. You keep that forever. Speaking of the boys, we have another question that says, do the boys have chores at home?
That's a really appropriate question because the answer is they do. They do. And that the impetus for that was that Kai started to want allowance because a friend of his at school had an allowance.
Okay.
And I hadn't really heard that term in a long
I know.
time.
Now that you say that, I'm
Because
like,
I had an allowance.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we said, well, you don't just get an allowance. You have to actually do things for an allowance. And it was a great jumping off point to like say, okay, well, these are the things you do for an allowance, right? Like you bring your plates to the sink, you put them in the dishwasher, you rinse them off, you take the garbage out, or you like, Kaya started washing my car on weekends, like make your bed every day, pick up your clothes, like all these things that actually they should be doing without an allowance.
Yeah.
But it was nice to sort of say like, motivator, right?
Yeah,
but it also
totally.
became like, okay, every day when you come home from school, take the dog out and run her around in the grass for at least 30 minutes, right? Like that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
So yes, they do have chores. Some of them should be a given, but some of them are now considered chores.
But that's
And
good.
I also think like as they get a little older and I'm more trusting of them, like in the kitchen or, to not touch anything.
Yeah.
I
Or
didn't-
break something. That's,
Yeah. And I really don't trust Caius near a oven in any way.
No.
Or stove.
I don't trust myself with an oven
No.
still.
No.
Which is funny. Okay. This question made me giggle because I just think it's funny. What is the biggest difference between you and Roger that nobody knows about?
Everything.
Yeah. The biggest difference between you that like maybe people wouldn't think of or know of.
We are extraordinarily different. And the older we get, the more I actually realize how different we are. I think when we were younger, we were slightly more the same. And then there are things where we'll like say something or do something, or like someone on my team will ask me something and then ask him the same thing, and we'll give the exact same answer. So those things, but I would say the biggest difference, in my opinion, would be how we approach things, like how we react to certain things. Like there are things that I won't even think about. I'll be like, oh, okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
And he will like take it to like 10 levels of thinking about it, talking about it, like obsessing over it, like blah, blah, blah. I also think he loves things that are activities in like big, large crowds, like going to see music and going to like whatever at a big stadium with thousands of people. And that gives me a panic attack.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to do that. So I think there are things that we're attracted to that we find fun, I think are different. Mm-hmm. Some very much the same.
Sure.
But I would say our reaction to things.
To things like dramatic things, would you say?
I find that I'm a very calm, even person. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he's a calm, even person. I think he's like
on first take. Like he's kind of reactive.
He's reactive. And I think I'm very even. I don't know how else to say it. Like I'm very consistent, I think. And I think with Roger, you don't know what you're getting.
I think you're more internalized. And
yes,
he's
for
more,
sure. Yes.
You kind of know exactly what's going on with Roger.
Exactly.
Sort of at any given time.
He's unedited and I'm very edited.
Yeah.
How's that?
That's a great way to put it.
Right?
Okay.
Or filtered and not filtered. I think.
Sure.
By the way, Skylar is very filtered and Caius is very not filtered.
That's interesting, right?
Right? I mean,
it's so funny.
But it's interesting because what I've learned is it's parenting. Because Caius came into the world unfiltered, right? Like he just says it.
Yeah.
He doesn't realize.
Right.
Not in a bad way, but he might say like, Mommy, why is that person talking to me?
Yeah.
Like meaning
in
that I don't know, like in front of the person.
Yeah.
And so I will then after that, like in this, he would say something like that when he was like 7. So then I would pull him aside and say, honey, well, we don't say that. We say, oh, my name is Caius. What's your name? Mm-hmm. So you introduce, so we find out who the person is, not like, why is the person talking to me?
Right.
So I said to Roger, like, maybe you just never got the like corrections. Maybe you never got the maybe you never got the explanations of why we filter sometimes.
Sure.
So I think
and Roger's the baby of his family too,
yes,
right? So
which is I think why he was less parented.
Yeah, maybe that has something to do with it. Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Well, the first child's the most parented. And the further down the line you get, the less parented, I feel like. Not in a bad way necessarily. Sometimes it just means they become more independent because they're not so helicoptered,
Totally. Interesting about you and Roger. Okay, the next question. Can you sew? I actually don't know the answer to this.
I cannot sew.
You cannot sew.
It is a awful fact about me that has, some people don't graduate college and it sits with them for their whole lives.
Sure.
It really bothers me that I can't sew.
Like not even a button onto
I could sew a button.
Okay.
I could sew a button. I could probably tack something. Like I could figure it out. It's not going to be pretty.
Got it.
Like I'm not going to offer to sew something for somebody.
So funny.
Which is wild because I've been in costume design. I've been in costume building. I've been in creative direction. I've been in music. I've been in everything where you would construct a garment but yet have never sewn the garment. And I'm very loud about that because, my mother always has this thing with me like, all you wanted to do was go to FIT and go to fashion school. And I was like, yeah, and I wish I did, And she'd be like, why? It didn't hurt your career. I'm like, no, but it hurt me because I didn't have that skill.
Yeah.
It's sort of like going into and being an actor and just winging it and figuring it out as you go versus having the formal training.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly right. That's so interesting.
So it bothers me.
Oh, I didn't
know
know
I should probably just take a sewing class. One would argue.
You should do like a little elective sewing class.
I could probably do it online.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm going to do that this year.
Because I feel like once the kids are like out of the house, you might.
I'm going to start sewing clothes.
You're gonna start sewing and like knitting. I could definitely see you knitting.
You realize my kids aren't out of the house for another decade, right?
I know. Oh my god.
I'm going to be 205.
I mean, I feel like Skylar doesn't have that long.
Skylar doesn't, but Kai's does.
Yeah. Because how many grades?
He's in elementary for another 3.
Right.
Like we haven't even started.
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay. Well, we'll have to put sewing.
And you,
and
my
knitting
friend, have not started.
Yeah, we'll have to put sewing and knitting way on the back burner. That's fine. Okay.
I'll be holding your babies.
Yeah,
I'll
exactly.
be holding your babies
Exactly.
knitting.
Yeah, you can raise my babies, no problem. How would you style Western booties for fall?
Oh, there's so many ways.
Yeah.
So many ways. Like, honestly, like, obviously the given would be a denim mini skirt,
Yep.
right? With like a chunky knit sweater would be the cutest thing ever.
So cute.
But also like, God, like what? Shorts? Like, shorts are such a thing for fall.
Yeah.
Shorts with tights, without tights, depending on where you live. You know, really they're working with everything. But the idea is you need to show them. They're hard. Western boots are hard to kind of wear with like just straight denim. Like they stick out. They're like a weird length, depending on where they hit. So you kind of need to wear something short or cropped.
Yeah.
In order for them to sort of sit properly, but like cute with a little cropped leather pant. I mean, they really do work with so many things. I actually love them with like an oversized, like a sweater dress, just like a big oversized chunky knit with a pair of little Western booties is so cute for fall.
Yeah.
With
I
like
love
a little
Western.
satchel, like a Western or suede satchel.
It's cute. So cute. Okay, our next question is from a follower that says, do you have any advice on balance? I'm a graduate student also working full-time in New York City.
Oh, God. That's like bing, bing, bing. That's like
Yeah.
ow, ow, and ow. Because living in New York City to begin with is like the most grueling, most expensive, most amazing city in the world. But working full-time while you're in grad school is no joke. It's a lot. Because you really have no free time at all.
Yeah. I mean, Roger did that almost, didn't he?
He did, but we were in DC. He
Right.
got his MBA in a year, and we did it in DC. And
And he was probably working part-time, but
yeah,
working.
he was working part-time.
Yeah.
But, I think it comes down to time management.
Yeah.
Which I would argue to say that the biggest life lesson that I'm trying to teach both my kids, and I will say this, it is working. I would say the biggest lesson that I taught Sky last year in 6th grade, because he gets overwhelmed, right? He's like a straight A student. He's super smart, but like the nature is to immediately go, I have so much to do. I have so much to do. And being someone who is like that as well, I know that the tool there is do as much as you can as soon as you can so that you free up your space.
Yeah.
Right? And so in that moment when you're in school or you're at work, when you come home from work late at night and you're exhausted, don't try and do your work then. Wake up in the morning, do an hour of your schoolwork, right? Like do that so that after work the next day, you have that night.
Yeah.
Go out with your friends. Force yourself to go and have like relaxed time, whatever that means. Go to the gym, right? Like get a massage, which I'm sure you don't have time to do, but like whatever that means to like take that time to breathe. Because I find that if you obsess over all you have to do, all you do is obsess over what you have to do and you actually don't do anything. So the biggest lesson I learned to try and achieve peace and balance in my life was I found the number one cause of me feeling overwhelmed was piling it on at once in my mind.
Yeah.
Saving it all to then do at once.
Yeah.
And then having a panic attack about all that I had to do and not being able to get it done.
Right.
So I find that time management and doing that in an efficient way is game changing. As a child, as a student, as someone who's working, as an adult, it is just everything to manage your time because it's the only way you get your time. Right?
Yeah. It's the only way you can make time is to like have control over it.
100%.
Yeah. And then you're not so like resentful about your life and where you are and you have a better attitude.
I believe Jen Akin very adamantly speaks about how she carves her time. And she is a working mom of 2. She works so incredibly hard.
Yeah.
There are days where she does not respond to people, and the people in her life know she will not respond on those days.
Yeah.
That's something I'm unable to do.
Sure.
I literally, I'm here to say I can't do that, and that may not work for you. But I think in terms of balance, it really works for her. And I think a lot of people, I think more people should try and do that.
Yeah.
If you can afford to block out the insanity for even a day, I think you're getting balance right there.
Yeah. That's a good tip.
You know?
We need to have Miss Jen on the pod.
Yeah, we do.
So she can really break it down for us. What are your goals for 2024? I don't even know if we've even gotten to that headspace quite yet, but
No.
interesting to think about.
Yeah, don't laugh. But I think I want to go back to playing tennis.
I'm not laughing. I think that's amazing.
That's a goal because I was a really good tennis player and it was something I really loved until I got my boyfriend.
Yep.
When I was 15, I used to win like tennis trophies and stuff. And I was actually like a really good tennis player. And life just happened and boys and school, and then became a fierce workaholic for 20 years and then had kids. And all of a sudden I'm like, huh? Wait, I play tennis. And then once in a while I pick up a racket with the kids and I'm like, oh, wait, I can still do this, you know?
So
and I
fun.
remember why I loved it, you know?
That's so fun.
I really struggle with the footwear. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
That's sort of an issue for me. If I could wear heels for sports, I'd probably like do them more.
You would try to wear heels skiing. I know.
Well, I
you
wore
would.
heels on the tennis court and I almost ate it.
Oh my God. That is.
It's not a good idea. I do
It's
not
not
recommend
good for
that.
your ankles
No,
and knees.
really
and-
not.
yeah,
Really
no.
not.
Does Roger play tennis?
Yes, and he's very good.
That's interesting.
Very
I know he
good.
plays pickleball.
He does.
Do you have
I-
interest in pickleball?
To be honest, I have interest because my kids are loving it. They're actually loving it more than tennis. And everyone's obsessed with it. Roger said I would love it because it's kind of this hybrid of ping pong / smash ball /
It's fun.
tennis.
It moves quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, I will try it because I've heard I will love it.
If you already have the mechanics for tennis too, you can definitely play pickleball.
Well, that's what everybody says.
Yeah.
But they said that about water skiing because I'm a good skier and I sank and never went back in. So
Oh, God.
Water skiing is the dumbest sport. I'm sorry. It is terrifying to ski on water.
See, I'm from the South, and so when people say, "Do you ski?"
You assume water.
Immediately think water ski. So I'm like very good on a water ski. I can like slalom. Like I was very good at water skiing.
But you hate snow skiing.
the worst thing in the entire world.
But
Nothing
why
is
would you
scarier.
ski on water you can sink in when you could ski on snow?
Well, because
that's land.
You're wearing a life jacket, so when you go down, you pop back up.
There's water snakes. I want to just remind you of
Yeah,
that.
the water creatures, like you have to have some bravery there.
Blah.
But to me, that's like being pulled behind a boat where there's nobody else like around is way less frightening than going downhill at a fast pace where people are like nearby.
Well, yeah, the nearbyness
The
of
collision
skiers
of it
is,
all
yes,
is
yes,
just
I'm
like
with
if
you.
I
Yes.
had learned how to ski by myself,
Yes.
I think I would have had a different outlook. But
Yes, I understand that.
every time I've been on skis, it's like
You almost like get
between Christmas and New Year's, and the hill is overrun.
That
with,
is
with
terrifying.
8-year-olds on snowboards.
Yeah, no, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yes. No, that's fair.
I need a
That's-
redo. I
that's
do
fair.
need a redo on the snow skiing thing. To be fair,
I'll take you.
yeah, you can take me.
Just Chris Snowski.
He does.
Oh, good.
He snowboards.
We're getting back on.
Yeah, he snowboards. So he's surf skate, snowboard. In your opinion, how has fashion changed in the last 10 years?
I don't think there's a way it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
It actually, the question needs to be flipped to
What's the same?
What is the same in fashion?
Yeah.
Well, the only thing that remains the same is that there are still incredibly talented designers.
Yeah.
That are still, showing their brilliance. I would say that the talent is still there. I would say the way in which clothes are made, with the exception of couture, by hand, everything about how it's made, how it's bought.
I mean, the calendar is even
The calendar basically doesn't exist
anymore.
We used to have a certain amount of collections as designers that you deliver to stores. Now it's like every week there's a new item, there's a drop, there's a this.
see now, buy now.
See now, buy now. There's
Yeah.
just consistently new merch and competing with online. And, if you don't make clothes that are commercial, you will never survive. The business is just different in every possible way. I think the internet completely changed fashion as it did everything else. But I think as it pertains to fashion, music, film, like entertainment, I mean, I just think the internet, for better or for worse, however you choose to view it, it completely turned the fashion world into something different. I mean, the people that attend shows have never had a background in fashion. When I was growing up, in fashion, the only people who could go to fashion shows
were industry people. Yeah.
It was the people that were trained in fashion, that were editors at magazines, that were stylists, that were, whatever it was. But like, it wasn't like, I like fashion, I look good in clothes, so I should be front row at a fashion show.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying one way or another if that's right, wrong, different. The influencer movement is what the influencer movement is, and you can choose to embrace it, hate it, love it, whatever it is. But ultimately, the industry is different, and people who attend shows are different. People who wear the clothes,
it's just a different world.
Are different. Yeah. And I think, influencers are models, and, I think brands are created out of thin air. I don't think that you have to design anything, build anything, own anything, create anything to be known in the fashion industry anymore. And quite frankly, I mean, it used to be the polar opposite where, if you weren't authentic and you were not talented, you got kicked to the curb.
Yeah, it was not not a very forgiving business.
No.
I was texting you the other night about this, but I kind of want to mention this. I'm watching the Supermodels documentary on Apple TV. I'm not done with it yet, but the journey of a model is so
grueling,
different now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they were talking about Cindy Crawford and Christy Turlington and all of these, like, what we think of as like real supermodels, that sort of 90s explosion of supermodels. Is print models weren't runway models, and runway models weren't print models, and how that world collided.
Because runway, you had to be like a stick and just like crazy tall, and it was like a totally different thing.
How that's part of the modeling blended, and these pop culture moments that sort of made these supermodels, quote unquote, supers. So now it's so different to see, for better or for worse, but the front row of a fashion show is now a lot of digital content creators. And I'm not even sure that they would even consider themselves influencers.
No, you can't say it anymore.
But they just are like, they're creating content, and these brands want their audience. Okay, Rachel, we've come to our last question. Do you still style celebrities?
The answer is I don't style celebrities on a regular basis. I have once or twice in the last few years, but it's something that I have to figure out if I can actually do it a little bit and not fully dive into it with all of my being, because it's something that I don't very well know how to do a little bit.
Yes, that makes sense. You're not a part-time stylist. You're
not a part-time anything. That's the problem.
Stay up till 4 a.m, reworking something in your brain kind of stylist.
Yeah,
I get
it's
that.
a problem. Listen, I'm the same way as a mother.
Yep.
It's sort of like I can't half be a mom. I'm all in and with my whole being, and I want to do it all.
You're just not a half-asser.
I'm not. And by the way, I want to follow that by saying it's a blessing and a curse,
Of course.
So I think the ability to do something a little bit sometimes can be very beneficial in your life in that goal towards balance.
Yes, for sure. For sure. Well, thank you for jumping in and answering all these questions today. Excited to be back with the podcast.
My pleasure. It was so much fun.
Yay.
Always fun. Thank you so much to all of you for asking so many incredible questions, and of course, for listening to Climbing in Heels. Please don't forget to write a review wherever you get your podcasts. I love reading them. And while you're at it, follow me on @Rachel Zoe and @Climbing in Heels Pod on Instagram for more updates on upcoming guests, episodes, and all things Curator. And I will see you next week.
Am I doing the right thing with my finances? Am I saving enough? Can I buy a house? Am I paying too much in taxes? Will I be able to retire? Putting a financial plan together feels impossible. What if I told you there was another way? Take Facet's free financial wellness quiz to get your score and a snapshot of your current financial health. Visit Facet.com now and discover your financial wellness score today. That's FACET.com. This ad is sponsored by Facet. Facet Wealth Incorporated is an SEC registered investment advisor. This is not an offer to buy or sell securities, nor is it investment, legal, or tax advice.
You know that feeling when you walk into your home, take a deep breath, and feel new? Well, that's what it's like to use Clorox Scentiva. Because Clorox Scentiva smells like coconut, cleans like Clorox, and feels like energy. It'll elevate any cleaning routine to not just clean, but also make every room smell like a tropical coconut getaway. Discover how Clorox Scentiva's powerful clean and refreshing scents can transform your space. Get yours in coconut or other fabulous scents at a nearby retail store.
Amazon One Medical presents Painful Thoughts.
I could catch anything sitting in this doctor's waiting room. Ugh, a kid just wiped his runny nose on my jacket. And the guy next to me, sitting in a pool of perspiration, insists on sharing my armrest. Ugh.
Next time, make an appointment with an Amazon One Medical provider. There's no waiting and no sweaty guy. Amazon One Medical. Healthcare just got less painful.